Medical examiners say they have just positively identified skeletal remains found yesterday following a 2-day search in Battle Creek. The remains are those of the long-missing Amber Griffins. Her body was found during a search of a wooded area behind a Wabascan Road home on Thursday afternoon. Now, the day before that, her accused killer, her ex-boyfriend Derek Horton, led police to that area as part of a plea deal.
News Channel 3's Mike Kravsig joins us near that site to explain the connection to where the body was found and where Amber was last seen alive.
Detectives say Amber Griffin's remains were found about 100 yards behind this empty Wabascan Road home. Police say the homeowner also owns the home Griffin was last seen in alive, about a mile from this area. The owner was set to testify in the murder trial for Derek Horton, now put on hold after Horton led police to the body. A deal allowing Derek Horton to plead no contest to a reduced charge of second-degree murder is moving forward. Prosecutors say Horton held up his end of the bargain after leading police to Amber Griffin's remains. It's a site investigators tried finding after the mother of two went missing nearly 2 years ago. With Horton's help, police found Griffin's remains in 2 days. Detectives found a bloody pair of women's pants with Griffin's blood and a receipt for a shovel during a search of the same area in June 2020.
We believed at that time that Amber had been here at some point, whether it was maybe alive or maybe it was after she was dead laying on top of the ground. We didn't know. We weren't getting cooperation from Horton at that point.
Prosecutors say Griffin called 911 to report she was being assaulted in the basement of a Anita Street home. Prosecutors say the suspect was Derek Horton. Investigators say Griffin's blood was found in all 3 levels of the home, the last place she was seen alive. Prosecutors say 12 hours later, Horton purchased the shovel. Detectives say 2 witnesses from that night were scheduled to testify in the trial, including the home's owner, Charles Walker III. Records show Walker also owns the Wabascan Road home near where Griffin was found. Walker is not being charged with the crime, but Julius Haggerty is.
I can't really comment on that at this point. I know what he has told us, but I don't want to really comment any further on that.
Haggerty faces charges for tampering with evidence and lying to police about cleaning up the Oneida Street house. Investigators say he drove Horton to the hardware store to buy the shovel. He's due back in court next month. Horton and Griffin had been dating for about 5 years. Police say Derek Horton had a history of violence. Court records show he was charged twice in 2019 with domestic violence and assault. In both cases, court records show Griffin requested the charges be dropped.
Remembering the past while trying to change the future. Today, community members and leaders marched in Kalamazoo. News Channel 3's Chris Yu explains what they were demonstrating for.
Marching up to freedom land.
Started by song and continued with chants.
This is what democracy looks like.
Community members locked arms as they marched down Patterson Street in Kalamazoo Sunday. Their message: pass laws to protect against voter discrimination.
Black vote matters!
This month marks 57 years since Bloody Sunday. That was when law enforcement in Alabama brutally beat people as they marched from Selma to the state capitol. The demonstrators were trying to call for African American voting rights.
R-E-S-P-E-C-T! R-E-S-P-E-C-T! That's what voting means to me!
Today's march commemorates Bloody Sunday since it led to the passing of the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
We're telling our ancestors that their lives, their blood, their sweat, their tears, and what our people went through on the Edmund Pettus Bridge 57 years ago was not in vain.
But the Voting Rights Act has since been weakened by the Supreme Court, so the marchers are calling for the passing of new bills to prevent voter discrimination.
My grandson is six years old. He won't vote till 2035, but it's important for us to activate him today for leadership and fighting for the rights of not just him, but for everyone.
After marching to the Douglas Community Association building, community leaders and lawmakers then reiterated the importance of going to the polls.
It's not going to be given to us. We got to go get it. Are you ready to go get it? This is the start. This is now. Let's cut the rope.
Bloody Sunday resulted in 17 people being hospitalized and dozens more hurt. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and about 25,000 demonstrators later finished that march to Montgomery, Alabama. Months later, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was passed into law. In Kalamazoo, Chris Yu, News Channel 3.
Vice President Kamala Harris was in Selma, Alabama today for the 57th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. Harris led thousands across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, where on March 7, 1965, state troopers attacked marchers who were crossing the bridge in a peaceful protest. Harris called the site hallowed ground and said the marchers' work isn't finished.
They marched for economic justice, for social justice, for racial justice. And we must do the same. We must fight to ensure all the people of our nation, no matter where they start, have the opportunity to succeed.
President Joe Biden renewed his call today for the passage of now stalled voting legislation. Opponents of Biden's bills say measures that were necessary in the 60s are no longer needed now. Families who are struggling to pay rent, listen up. There could be some relief coming your way. News Channel 3's Maria Serrano is joining us live in studio to share how housing might become more affordable for these people. Maria.
Yeah, actually, this coming Tuesday, the wait list for a state agency's housing voucher program is finally opening. It's the first time in about 16 years that the wait list is taking in more names.
We had so many on the waiting list from 2006.
Including a steady flow of homeless applicants that were referred and prioritized in Kalamazoo County.
Kalamazoo County was one of those counties where we felt it was time to open the list.
But now the Michigan State Housing Development Authority is opening up its housing voucher wait list for low-income families because it has vacancies to fill.
We don't want to keep too many people on the waiting list for a false hope.
The first 1,000 names selected during the random selection process will be placed on the waiting list.
If our costs drop, so the amount of assistance that we're providing drops, it means we can also help additional families. If our costs increase, that means we can help less.
But roughly 150 vacancies will be filled for individuals that live and work in the county.
They would have that additional income available for them for other, essential needs that they may have, family needs.
In Kalamazoo County, there are 1,184 families with housing choice vouchers.
It will be a great opportunity for families who may be rent burdened right now, where, if they're selected from the waiting list and they're offered a voucher, MSHDA will be paying a portion of their rent.
MSHDA officials also say they've been able to make some program changes that make it more attractive for landlords to participate, but COVID has posed some challenges.
And we continue to see some residual from that with a lack of housing units available for our families because there just hasn't been the turnover in units for families to select.
And not everyone that gets selected from the waiting list ends up with a voucher.
Sometimes in some areas, it does take, basically what we call a 5-to-1 pull. You pull 5 names to fill 1 voucher.
If families meet income and screening criteria, they're required to pay at least 30% of their monthly income to rent, and MSHDA pays the rest. Right now, the agency helps about 28,000 families across the state. If you're interested in applying, the application will open on Tuesday at 9 a.m. To apply, go to the web version of this story at WWMT.com.